Room one, how are you? Hello, everybody.
Hey Jeff, how's it going?
Yidra, always a pleasure. Nice to see you. Hi, Tom. Those of us of a certain age remember Romper Room, and I say, well, out there we see Anita, and I see Brett, and I see Tom, and it's very much like Miss Sarah was in 1962. How's everybody doing? I'm glad you all came back after our session in December, and hopefully everyone was able to talk amongst yourselves and others to get some ideas of what might be plausible, possible, feasible, desirable of things to do underneath and around the structure, mostly underneath the structure in those various categories. Helping me out this afternoon is Dante. Dante, wave, thank you.
Hello.
Dante's a landscape architect with Stantec, as am I. And Dante is going to be my official scribbler. Dante is the guy that knows stuff. I'm just the guy that's been there. So what we decided to do was to break this into little more granular areas for, there might be some obvious boundaries and some things to think about in commonality. And we're going to start up at the north today, and up around the Willow Street area. If Dante, if you could, we'll stay there for a minute. We're going to go Willow Street, and then south of the railroad track, we got LaPlace and Sterling Grove flanking the main line. And then we get into the central downtown core area. And then south of that, we get into the Macomb-Bizet, Freetown, Puerto Rico pair. There the structure ends until it goes back over the river and gets down into the Caliste-Loom area at the very south end of the project. So we'll start at the north, Dante. And what we're going to do is we're going to spend maybe 10 minutes on this one. We're going to look at what's going on here at Willow Street as far as the alternative goes. And then I think what we'd like to do is get into a free-form discussion on things that might be possible to do around here. Let me refresh everyone. Willow Street's right there in the middle, going up and down. The I-10's to your right, and the railroad tracks are to your left. The old Kmart's up there on the upper left. And this is pretty much a fairly traditional diamond type interchange. And there's the service road that connects on both sides. We've omitted the ramps for now because they're still being determined, but they're just south of Willow Street. To the left of Willow Street is where the current visitor center is that'll have to be relocated. But you can see that there's a lot of open space in this interchange area that could have uses potentially programmed for it or other things. Yeah, thank you, Dante. See, he's so good. This is why I love the Ute. That can be spoken for or can be programmed in a way that has a passive use.
Oh, baby.
And then maybe other issues through and around this area that we would want to talk about connectivity and or other active uses that could happen here, or just whatever you think. So with that, I'm going to stop talking for a minute and hope that someone can jump in and maybe give us your thoughts on the Willow Street area. We're going to repeat this exercise 4 more times after this. So this is a chance just to warm up and get your mind going.
I'm never afraid to start.
Please don't.
Hey,
Yes,
hey
please.
Dante, can you zoom in just a little bit, please?
Sure can.
Okay, thank you.
My first question is, how long is this particular stretch?
How long is this? I think it's about 3/4 of a mile, I might guess. Maybe a half to 3/4, maybe.
So a couple things that I think about is, you mentioned this is where the current visitor center is. I think a lot of people traditionally think about this as like the entry point to Lafayette. So I think wayfinding is going to be really important. Some sort of anchor signage that is an indication that you're entering Lafayette and welcome people to Lafayette is also going to be important. And then the other thing that I'm thinking about is this is one of the larger interchanges where there is currently a lot of green space in this area. So
Yeah.
this may be our best opportunity to have some sort of nice green space with maybe scrolling, walking trail kind of things, because the space already lends itself to that sort of activity, and it's kind of known for that. So I'm not exactly sure how, the elevation interplays with that, or I'm kind of trying to see myself in this down on the ground versus staring at it from above. But,
No.
a lot of people see this as the welcome area. It's where the Welcome Center currently is. There's a big sign somewhere that says Welcome to Lafayette, and we could certainly use an upgrade in its look and appeal, and some good directional signage to kind of orient you into what's to come and what getting off the interstate here, what that would mean, I think would be important.
To that point, let me ask you, Nita, what do you think? This is one of the places that we had talked earlier in some other sessions about Gateway, and Gateway can be can manifest itself in many ways. Is this something that you would think that might work here?
I would want to talk to the folks in the immediate area. I know that with the establishment of the Economic Development District, we're starting to look at the Northgate Mall as a super site for some redevelopment. And so kind of depending on what the uses are going to be there, talking to Philadelphia Christian Church, certainly talking to the folks from Destiny of Faith, which is just off of Willow and MLK, to really get a sense from them on that. But I certainly think it's worth discussing if this is going to be the gateway, what kind of look, feel, elevation, scale of something we want to see here to kind of have that sort of presence.
I see.
Yeah, Jeff, this is Brett.
Hi.
Right now there's a lot of vegetation in that area. The pond, there's a pond out there, has walkways out into the pond. I think there's been azaleas planted. There's all kinds of different Louisiana tree species.
Yeah.
And so, that might be continuing that in that area, along with Anita's idea of the walking paths and so on, might be a good look for the entrance to our community. So that's just maybe my thoughts. I figured a landscape architect might like that.
Well, I think one of the things that I always notice about the visitor center is really a microcosm of the Louisiana ecosystem, and they got themselves you got yourself a little bayou there and a little couple of swamp cypresses and stuff. It's pretty cool when you come into Acadiana this way. It's pretty neat. Great ideas. Let's keep going.
I'll just chime in.
Yes, please.
Let's see. There I am, right? Hey, I think that the visitor center is easily bypassed right now. So while it is there, and I agree this could be a great gateway spot, right now it doesn't feel like that for Lafayette. It's a quick blip. Like you guys said, it's a microcosm. You see some bald cypress trees. You see a little marsh there.
Yeah.
You barely see an entrance though.
Yeah.
For example, in Eunice, they have hold baby alligators, and they have it
Oh,
plastered
my.
all over the place right before you get there. Not saying we do that here. I'm just saying,
Don't let
like,
them
giving
get out.
examples of, I don't really know. I've never been to that visitor center, to be completely honest. And it's there, but besides that, you have a lot of poverty-stricken people right by that area. There's a Planet Fitness on the back side. That place, before the pandemic, was always packed. So
Yeah.
if we're going to be maybe doing something with the Northgate Mall, what the uses are in that area already, fitness, or there is a high capacity of people that already flock to that area daily for fitness. Obviously, transportation is another issue as far as getting across the thruway right there for people. It's treacherous.
Yes. Cross connection, very important. Because
and the last thing I'll say is, as good as the wetland is, if we could get that feel going a bit better and have a way for people to actually get right in there. I've never even been to that visitor center, but I'd imagine, I don't know what their volume is or what they could actually hold on the flip side of sending people there.
Well, as you know, it's because the road's at grade, you can just pull off into the driveway. With the main line now raised up above, if it was put back there, it'd be even harder to see. And one of the thoughts that, I've heard is that maybe there's another place, if not here, for a welcome to Acadiana type feature. And I don't know where it would be. I'd leave that all up to you.
Yeah, this is kind of off subject, but as far as when it goes to drainage, if we could work with water and have it at a place like these swamps where we're using water management and some of the runoff, which God only knows what that water's like that runs off from a road. If the Chapelizod Basin's any indication.
Well,
but again, just working with the aesthetic of give them that Louisiana feel when they enter there. It's just a blip right now. If this were to be the gateway area, these would be some of the comments I would have. Make it more like Louisiana. If you've ever stopped off at the visitor center at the Chapelizod Basin, it has a nice, well, we have a nice Acadian style house, but they have just every amenity, free coffee.
Yeah, I mean, you're coming up 92. There's the one there by, I guess that's Franklin. There's one down there too, coming up from the south. That one's pretty good too. So you can get into Acadiana from three sides. And I haven't been to the one in the basin, but I've been to the other two. That's pretty good. I mean, I hear what you're saying, because this is an open area and it could lend itself to, just expanding on a landscape that maybe starts to deal with some water issues, both, as a feature and as a management area. What else?
I think another aspect would be the lighting in this area, because Willow Street's a pretty busy street, running east and west. And so, you showed us some examples, the Red River District and some of those places in Baton Rouge that have the enhanced lighting underneath to draw people through. So that's another possibility there.
Well, we know that pedestrian and vehicular safety is a huge issue, and the more it seems safe, or the less it seems unsafe, the better. It would encourage that cross connectivity that we know is important to get from one side to the other. So you're right. Lighting is a big deal.
Cross connectivity, lighting, those things, foot traffic. That's the most important thing. And that's going to be the theme throughout any one of these neighborhoods, is people got to be able to get through this.
Yeah.
Right. Safely. If you're walking or on a bike, having special pathways to get through that intersection are going to be important.
I'll just say, when we talk about something like a visitor center, as it is now, it's obviously so isolated from any other kind of development. So a visitor going to it can't just, walk over to the next business, because there is no next business. But if you think about a visitor center or a gateway that has a great kind of frontage that encourages a certain type of urban development along it, then I think that's a really promising use of this space, both as a gateway and a transition into the urban part of Lafayette. And of course, safety from a pedestrian vehicular, side is one thing, but then safety from a crime side is another thing. And, nothing helps with that side of safety so much as, more eyes, more traffic, more presence. So the more present that there is for people to be able to walk and travel and be present out there, the better from that standpoint as well.
Well, there, Miss Tina.
I'm listening to everybody's comments about what's happening at Willow Street, and what could potentially happen at Willow Street. Things that pop up for me that currently exist at Willow Street are, of course, safety for pedestrians, people getting access to, either sides, both sides. I think that there's active eyes currently on that throughway. The issue is that this project has been lingering over this corridor for so long that we're losing all of our businesses now. So for people who are new to this project, they're looking at it as, oh, this is this derelict place that doesn't have a lot of businesses, but at one point it was thriving. And my hope with this project is that it brings back that vibrance that once was there with the Northgate Mall. We're one of a few cities within the country that has access to 2 major interstates, and our mall has been killed by the creation of the Acadian Mall, which has now been killed by the Costco development, and it just continues to spiral south of our community. So for me, definitely pedestrian access, some kind of way that we can utilize that old the station, whatever it's going to be, whether it's for visitors and tourism, or if we activate those ponds, not for alligators, because we did try that, I believe, at one point, and ducks, they didn't survive.
I don't think we could do that. No.
Some kind of recreational use I can see, like even like on some canoeing, like they have that at the Vermilionville, where there's the light kayaking in the pond. I can see those things happening underneath that structure, and a way to bring those eyes, but without, I guess, using the road development to bring in a certain type of development.
That's an interesting idea, to put in a little of that kind of recreation, because here you got some space.
Mm-hmm.
And there could be a possibility. I mean, we showed earlier on one other time of a water oriented boat vendor or somebody, having a concession underneath an interstate that rented paddle boats or something. So, I mean, it's a big ask. It's a long walk there, but it's something that is just the kind of place that if you're going to do something like that, why not think big? What the heck? That's a very interesting idea, Tina.
So that's making me think about, utilizing the green space like we're talking about, what Tina's saying about capitalizing on what's there. I think we're all trying to figure out, like, this is our probably biggest green space amenity around this facility that already exists. But how do you get to it? We got to make sure that you can get to it safely, get from it safely. And if we are hoping to attract any sort of visitor, where will they park? Is something to consider too. So how do we not end up with a big old surface parking lot that kind of ruins the aesthetic of this, but how could it be incorporated to where the local folks in this neighborhood and in this community can utilize it as a nice green space, but also it can attract visitors and they can safely park and access it. And they know how to do that with signage, and, that they understand that there's something going on under here that you don't want to miss.
Yeah. Let me ask everyone this. We haven't talked yet about any active use, like active recreation. Is that something that anybody see being viable here because of the adjacent neighborhoods, and maybe something that's not there?
Can you define for me active use and active recreation?
Kick the ball, throw the frisbee, shoot the hoop, something, more active recreation than just having parks and paths and benches and stuff.
Or even something like a destination park, like the Parasite Skate Park. Like, is that something?
Thank you, Dante. Very, very good. If you got the space to really stretch out and do something like that, that's a very good. Something that could be thought about. So, if it's interesting point, if it's a destination, then it's not so much from just right there, but we can get people coming in from all over the place if it's something like that's big enough.
Maybe a putt-putt golf.
Maybe putt.
That's safe enough. People can hit the ball and not take out a window, hopefully. Or even a basketball goals are something that we see polluting our streets. Not that it's polluting our streets, but we don't really have safe streets for them to play basketball in. But I could see basketball being a use for that space as well. With some.
Do you all think that there's a possibility? I'm just going by the map here. When you talk about active space, Jeff, I know that we have the school right here, but is there a possibility, I wonder, for, is it Willow Charter Academy?
Oh,
right
okay,
here?
I'm sorry.
The charter school is right there. I wonder, is there the possibility for partnership or something like that to create some type of active space to go along with the school for the students, the kids who attend there.
That's absolutely a joint use type thing that could be discussed. If the space is there and the desire is there, you're halfway there.
Or even for parking. I'm not sure who, let's see, what is it? Oh, that's the gas station, never mind.
I
Everyone,
added earlier that, so there is a Planet Fitness on the backside of the Northgate Mall, and then there's the Willow Charter Academy. If we are where I think we are,
Yeah.
somewhere around here. Is that right?
yeah, Willow's
And-
right there.
And then- But the Willow Charter Academy has plants growing in these big containers in the parking lots there. So they do some type of ag, small, but
Community garden.
going back to what Tina said with businesses, if we were to not make this the gateway and put that idea to the side, yeah, how do people enter into this area and function in this area on foot and also, safely through there? And then, yeah, if the kids, for example, and all these people that are already flocked there every day, what do people do there every day? And that's the last thing I'll add is we need someone from the Willow area. I don't know if anyone in this group is.
Well, we're getting close to having a sit down with those.
We need some.
We're going to be meeting with them in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. That's right, Deidre. So listen, we've been on this one for 15 minutes. We got to move on. No, well, it's part of my job. Dante, you want to go to the next one? We'll go south of the railroad tracks there to Laplace and Sterling Grove. Take a breath, shake your head. We're now doing a whole different place. And so this goes from the railroad tracks down to Simcoe. And the idea here is that there may be understructured uses that could be available to both sides of the main line that could have commonality. And what would those things be? And also, what are the other major things, connections and things that you all see?
Could you zoom in? I don't know if it'll show anything different.
So right now you can see where the northbound Evangeline is, just where it says Mud. And so the whole thing is moving over, which would be to the west. You got the St. Genevieve Church at the corner of northbound Evangeline and Simcoe to orient you there on the very left-hand side of the picture. And so the main line's going to be over where the southbound Evangeline is, and then some a little bit, according to this current plan. So what we showed, if you remember, we showed last time, you see those dots underneath the yellow, those are where the bridge piers might be. And you can see that that's 150 feet between those rows of dots. Thank you, Dante. And 150 feet is, that's a pretty good space. And you can combine many of them between blocks that don't go through to combine them into a space. And then there's going to be potentially some connection through the blocks across there. And this has got a whole different feel than where we were up at Willow, just because it's now much more, it's thinner, and it's got residential neighborhoods flanking on both sides directly.
Well, I'll start because I can only orientate myself. We got a railroad track and a racetrack there, racetrack gas station. That is crazy busy with foot traffic accessing it right now.
Yeah.
So just to start from one way, moving to the other. But yeah, if we've got green space just ahead of it at that nature station or what visitor center, and if we can keep the greenery and a walkway going into this area from the other area we were in, and then obviously get people getting across. And are you saying that you guys can wipe out a handful of pillars in the middle somewhere for a green space or for a use space?
There can be, the piers are going to be where they are, but depending on what you're thinking of, the piers might not matter. For instance, you can't have a pier in the middle of a ball field, but you could certainly fit it in between some courts, or you could build a skate park around it, or there's lots of things that could incorporate the pier so the piers don't just go away. The piers are just there and it don't matter. I think what Dante's got here though is that putting in a connection or a connectivity continuation from the Willow area as it goes down through here, you could get up, if it was more of a nature oriented area at Willow, you would have the ability to connect to it via the understructure.
So Jeff, that was one of the things I was trying to get at with my initial question about how long the Willow section was, and trying to understand the connections between the different colors and the different districts to see if there's opportunities for continuous, because that'll make it something that people will want to run under, or they would actually rent a bike to go several miles. And then going back to what we were all saying about connectivity, I think we oftentimes are thinking of connectivity perpendicular to the structure, but
Right.
if there's an opportunity for connectivity parallel to it underneath it,
Right.
then you start to get people from adjacent neighborhoods getting access to the paddle boarding and the putt-putt golf that Tina was talking about, the basketball court. So if each distinct area has a new thing that could attract different age groups, different mixed uses, I think that could be really awesome. So I'm kind of trying to, again, figure out like, how wide is this? How much space do we have for headroom underneath? And how long is it? So like, what's the right thing? And I'm also very sensitive to, I know that the Sterling Grove and Laplace residents feel very strongly about this. And so I do not want to speak for them, but I like the idea of the continuous walking path. I think lighting's critically important. And it looks like we don't have as much room here. So figuring out something that scales well is going to be really important.
Yeah, we're going to start hearing, and you're correct. We're going to start hearing the same kinds of things again and again, like, you know, pedestrian safety and lighting, and that's kind of the point. We want to make sure that it makes sense in all these areas, and that we see the value of it such that it becomes incorporated in the entire 5 miles.
And going back to wayfinding, you know, these are historic neighborhoods. They're National Historic Registry neighborhoods that we're talking about throughout this entire corridor. And so some sort of way to signify that and draw attention to that in a unique way. There's something special off of this interstate, I think is important too.
Oh yeah, Sterling Grove, certainly on the National Register, we know.
I think about, and this may be a bad example, but the High Line in New York City,
Mhm.
in Denver, there's bike and walk paths that go for miles. And it's really nice to get on those, and then you've got a path, you know where you're going, and you can step off, step on, step off, step on. So continuation through this area, it could be a very nice area.
So if you're in one neighborhood, it could be the conduit to the next, or you get, like you're saying, step on, step off. If you want to go down and visit your friends by Tina, you could jump on here and pedal on down and have a clear way to do it without being, you know, necessarily all over the city street.
Yeah, and I think that could be done with other uses as well. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got pretty wide corridor here, so you know, putting in the paths to ensure smooth passageway for bikes and walkers is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Let's look at our categories. Our active use, connectivity we got, art, historic we got, continuous, yeah. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. That's a good.
As far as active uses go, I agree with Anita. You know, let's ask the residents what they think about that. Whatever's appropriate for their neighborhoods. I'd like to hear what they have to say.
Sure thing. And you're absolutely right, because when that becomes an immediate neighborhood adjacent potential use, who's going to use it the most but the immediately
Right.
adjacent folks, and that's what it's all about.
Exactly.
Okay. Let me see now. Look at my list here. There's folks here we haven't heard from yet. Is there an Ashley on the call?
Yes, Ashley's here.
Oh, good. How you doing?
Oh, fine, thank you.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. So you've been listening. How do you think we're doing so far?
No, I think everyone's pretty much covered anything that I would have to say. I mean, the big thing is creating pedestrian connectivity and access. We talked about it on Willow. I've walked in this area quite a bit because I work downtown, and the cars that are on the throughway when they're driving past people on the pedestrian facilities, they're just looking to go from point A and point B. They're not thinking about the people walking there. So it's very important when we do this and we elevate the structure to give it back that walkable quality, because there really is a lot of great stuff to visit. Like I said, right now, the existing facility is just such a dam to that. And so it just, everyone else is pretty much, I don't really have anything to add because everyone else has already contributed such great insights.
It's so good. I know. I'm always so bright. My mother called me Sonny. Sorry.
Oh, dad joke.
I'm sorry. I had to do it. Well, hey, Dante, did we miss anything?
I think, yeah, talking about or asking about the connectivity, and I wonder, like, since it is a residential neighborhood, I think it sounds like we don't have any people from this area tonight, but if there was, do people walk dogs in the neighborhood? And that idea of, providing opportunity for, I don't know, areas to recreate with a dog might be good, or if it's of interest to people.
Yeah. That made me think of something now I forgot. I think, Brett, your point was spot on, where it's really now to get even more granular with this, we have direct conversations with Sterling Grove as we are able, and similarly LaPlace, to see what there seems that might be missing or in low supply immediately, and if some of this might work in here. Now, this is where I put in my caveat. I wear my caveat hat. All of this stuff.
Sure. Thank you.
Oh, Kathy.
Hello?
Hi, Kathy. Yeah, I hear you.
I don't think Kathy is meaning to talk right now.
Oh. Okay. I was going to put on my other hat and saying, again, we pointed out last time, we're calling out again, this exercise is more about getting a feel for what is the realm of the potential. As we say many times, and I'm required to say it again almost, is that once things are identified, that's just the beginning of the process. Then we have to figure out how it might get funded, who might sponsor it, who would maintain it, who'd take care of it, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff. But if we don't go through this part of the exercise, we don't even know what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to lay any false hopes where we're saying, oh yeah, we're going to put this here and there. It may happen, it may not, I don't know. But this is part of the way that you get those things to start to be thought about, is by this exact exercise we're doing, such that the people, y'all and others, who will ultimately make this happen, have direction and have had some input from people that have a say and and care. And that's really what it's all about.
Great. Well, I say we bury it.
Not as a hurricane evacuation route, I'd have a problem with that.
No.
We thought about that a couple of years ago and some of the alternatives, and it might not work when it gets really rainy out.
We're just dreaming, Jeff. We're just dreaming.
Oh, I got you.
We won't have anywhere to put the water, though. That's the issue.
Well, it is an issue. Storm water is a big deal. Since I became familiar with Katie Ann over the years, my mantra is, it's all about the water. And it really, it really is.
Every project is a drainage project.
It's all about the water. And so that's something that has to be considered everywhere. That's why up at Willow, it makes some sense to use the water for fun and for management as well.
Mm-hmm.
Let's
I have a quick question, Jeff.
yes, ma'am.
Are we looking at like the I guess the economic development initiatives that could potentially happen underneath
Sure.
Are we talking about those too?
Yeah, you know, the DOTD has a process by which they will, the only thing they won't let you do underneath within their right of way is sell alcohol. And if you read their joint use regulations, there's a whole process of who gets first shot at it, but there are absolutely methods for commercial purposes within and around a structure. You know, it's a big deal and it's not easy, but it's absolutely doable. And so, and the only thing the regs specifically say is there's no booze. So it means you can't have have a restaurant or a festival space that sells alcohol. But other than that, there's pretty much not much that you can't do that after they give everybody else first shot at it, that if someone really wanted to develop that and came up with a proposal that was approved by the DOTD's real estate people, sure, why not? Okay with me. I'm looking at my clock here. Let's move on down the road, just like they say in the Wiz, and we'll go down to the core area. Now this is from Simcoe down to, I guess we're saying 11th Street?
11th Street. Yep.
Yeah, 11th Street. And this is, more or less downtown. And it's also the beginning of, on the east side of Macomb Vizay. But we all know this area. This is the tangent section of the elevated. It's it has Jefferson. It's got 6th Street. This is the main line is fully off of where the existing north and southbound Evangeline roadway is now, and it goes in between. I guess that's where Chestnut Street probably is, between the railroad and Chestnut and southbound Evangeline. Now, we're not going to talk about today whether it's going to be a couplet or a boulevard. That's a different discussion. But I think that here's a place where, because of its adjacency directly to the downtown, that it would maybe prompt or suggest other uses that might not work any other place. It could have a unique character because of where it's located with the rest of the city. See, right, there you got Jefferson right there. Jefferson 6. There's Rosa Parks. There's there's what's that dance hall? Grant Street Dance Hall. What's that called?
What's that?
You know the place.
Yes, Grand Street Dance Hall.
Yeah, that place is cool. I like that. And so, what could happen here that might not work everywhere else? Because it's, could be an extension of downtown, possibly. It's one edge is on Macomb Vizay on the north end. And so, it has other possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff, this is Tom.
Hi, Tom.
I think there's a lot of opportunity. Some very active things, farmer markets, a variety of different kind of activities that help, enlighten this place. Certainly connectivity through, very important. Try to manage that railroad track. Of course, we only have a couple of places we can do that. Also, places there might be a lot of art down here as well, in relationship to the museums and the kind of art district.
Yeah, that's true.
Hopefully this can be a connector element between one side and the other, hopefully foster some development.
Hey, Tom, does the Mardi Gras parade start on this side and go then over to?
It does.
It does, right.
Pontiac Point
Yeah, right. So it
is
has,
across.
exactly. I remember that. We went walking with you one time and so I started to notice the beads in the trees. So, oh, I get it.
I mean, this could be a much more active area with things that might be planned. You know, various kinds of things that the city might get into and help
Yeah.
take over.
So there's no off ramps in this area.
No, sir.
So
To get
typical.
down-
Say
get-
that again.
I'm sorry, to get to downtown, from the north, you'd be exiting somewhere in and around the Willow area. And if you're coming up from the south, you'd be getting off somewhere at, I'm going to guess Pinhook probably Pinhook. And with signage and directions to get in. So here, the main line's up in the air. And then what was taking all the traffic is now up top. And the Evangeline Thruway, whether it becomes a couplet or a boulevard, is much, much less traffic. And it returns mostly to being, having a local orientation.
All right, Jeff, you ready for me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. Hit me.
All right. Tom brought up a lot of really good points that some of them that I say will be echoing, but I figure if we both say it, we get 2 points for it. So
Yeah.
I really think that the Parasite Skate Park could be something really great here. We've seen more skate activity downtown. The DDA has done some small investments in skate infrastructure in Park Sans-Souci, and you see anywhere from 20 to 40 kids skating right now in Park Sans-Souci when the weather's nice. So there's definitely a desire there for it. Also, our Ruckus Skate Shop is on the 200 block, which is right where the underpass for Jefferson Street happens. And so I think this could be a really natural place. I think that good connectivity to and from it, parallel and perpendicular, is critical. We really want Macomb-Vizay neighborhood to be able to access downtown and vice versa, especially as we see more development starting to happen on the north side of the Thruway. There's talk about a grocery store coming in that area, kind of between Sterling Grove area and Macomb-Vizay, and we want people to be able to walk back and forth there. Also, there's a couple of Airbnbs in the Sterling Grove area that people from other countries, when they can travel here, love to come to downtown Lafayette. So how do they safely get to and from downtown? It's pretty sketchy right now. They do it, but it's dark. It's hard to navigate. So how do we focus on that? That continuous green space element of biking and running, farmers market. I do think, Dante, what you were saying earlier about dog park could fit really well here, especially as we work to grow residential base. But I wrote down very well lit, visible, safe crossing from Macomb-Vizay to downtown Lafayette and vice versa is really important to me, along with all the fun things like art and farmers market and that kind of thing. I'm always going to talk about wayfinding because I don't think we do a good job of orienting people to where they are in Lafayette and what's special about the places that they're coming up upon and where they should be exiting to do things. So I know this is circling back to where we started, but if people are having to exit at Willow to get to downtown, what is DOTD and LCG and whoever else needs to be the partner going to do to tell people about that far in advance so that they know and understand from both directions how to get to downtown in Macomb-Vizay?
Yeah, well, we know that's a really big deal, and I think there's going to be a robust signage program so to do exactly what you say, knowing, of course, that if the exit's a little away from where you really want to be, you got to do the right thing to get people there, especially if it's getting folks to downtown or to to any other of the other attractions that are the obvious things that you want to get them to. That's well known and appreciate that. What else could happen adjacent here to downtown that couldn't really make sense anywhere else?
What I think, depending on the mitigation, first I want to double down everything that everybody pretty much said. I'm still on the fence about skate parks. They don't make sense to me, but I don't skate. So that's not my thing. But I do have a dog, so I will take him to the dog park.
Well, you got to teach your dog to skate. There you go.
Yeah,
Don't skate either.
that might be
Let's
helpful.
bring our dogs.
That'll
You
be
go on
that'll. Buddy
TV.
would really love that. I
Get
bet.
on TV with that.
But as Anita mentioned, a pedestrian access to downtown is really important to us, especially along that 6th Street corridor. If there's any way that we can isolate that corridor for solely pedestrian use and really dress that up in a way that it's a passive walk-in park or something, I think that'd be really good. I'm not exactly sure what's happening with the environmental situation with the property, I guess just outside of the right-of-way connector between downtown and the connector. But I think it'll be a great opportunity for us to have kind of a linear, kind of long, passive park that activates farmers markets, gardens, and things like that for the community with edible landscape.
You know, that's a really good point. Between the main line there and the railroad is, you know, what we've all know to be as the bad place. And that's still up in the air. And I can't look into a crystal ball because I don't know. But I think that some of the things that we need to think about have to assume something's going to happen there someday. And how would you get these things to work symbiotically such that they support one another? I mean, I don't know how to go farther than that. But you see, there's the obvious area between the main line and the railroad tracks. As we all know, it's right now it's a couple of metal buildings and what's the old railroad yard. But at some point that's going to change. And how does that work? Again, because you're uniquely adjacent to the downtown area. Thank you, Todd.
I'll just add on that we need to have both a place for people with their dogs and the kids that need to skateboard. The new city park, the horse farm, actually doesn't have a skate park, or I don't think it has any amenities for skaters. And I have heard the grumblings of the neighborhood kids about that. That green space needs to be multi-purpose, including when we have downtown festivals. Festival International is packed brim to brim in the streets. If we could have a new green space adjacent. Now, we haven't talked about the railroad, and I have to voice the concerns of people in my neighborhood that talk about the toxic waste and potential things like that, and they don't want to have anything to do with any of this area. We won't go there, but this has to be, this is the tale of two cities right here when you come down Evangeline right now. You can turn and go this way to the tracks, and it's the downtown, and it looks a lot better, or you go left, and that again, we have to have where those can come together and maybe a great public space that they all utilize, and of course can get through now because it's treacherous at any one of those intersections to get across.
Hey, Dante, what's going on here?
Sorry, y'all. I exited out of ours.
Huh?
Or
You're making me nuts.
Sorry. And I know that there's some communities, I'm not sure exactly where, I'm gonna say Philadelphia, but I think I might be wrong. But as far as like brownfields and the mitigation of brownfields properties, there have been some communities who've used urban orchards, and as a way to help clean the ground. I'm not sure how contaminated this is, but I think it would be, to Gabe's point, a good kind of unifier, that if the community knows that the land, while it isn't cleaned immediately because of construction, but it is being cleaned by the planting of these trees, and it's something that we can all kind of rally behind, and bring some health to the community. I think would be a good idea for that.
That's a great idea, Tina. Dante, remind me of the term. It's called bioremediation. Bioremediation, and it's absolutely a discipline where, and there's fair amount of literature and other stuff on it, where you have plantings that do some of that work, and it works quite well. So bioremediation in some of this area is absolutely is tenable.
So Ashley's on the call from the APC, and this is something I've talked about with Chad from the APC. I've talked about with Kevin Blanchard from LPTFA, is what would it take to get a Brownsfield grant to be able to remediate this? Is it possible? We really need to get to the bottom of, because to Gabe's point and to Tina's point, like a lot of people avoid this area. They don't have any hope for what's happening in this green squiggle space because all we've heard our whole lives is how contaminated this area is. Truly, what is the opportunity to remedy that? How do we work around it? I think that you asked for unique things to this area. That's certainly a unique thing that we've got to try to figure out together.
Yeah.
I really liked what Tina said about the 6th Street pedestrian use only, because I really think that this could help to start to heal some of the wounds of how this interstate has split our community.
Yeah.
And I'm also thinking about, somebody's going to have to help me, but what's that walkway in New Orleans that has like the really bright track and the natural, you know what I'm talking about?
I
I've
don't.
walked it before, but it was Mardi Gras, so the memories are vague.
Are you talking about, Anita, are you talking about the Lafitte Greenway?
Yes.
Or,
Yes.
okay, yeah, that's a great, that was a great project that they did, because it really brought a lot of economic development to that area.
Right.
By putting a lot of bike-oriented facilities, pubs, all sorts of things.
Well, you know, that kind of thing is really what ties this all together. And back to what Tina said before, if 6th Street becomes much more pedestrian oriented, it could be the connector from both sides into whatever happens north-south under the structure. So if you're going to have an access point to the understructure uses, such as whatever they may be, to get there via a pedestrian-oriented way, makes that connection a lot easier and more inviting.
Right. I do think too, like we should be thinking about parking and how, if parking will get incorporated into this project in this area, how do we do it well? How do we do it safely? Are people going to use it? People complain to me all the time that there's not enough parking downtown. I'm not quite sure that that's true. They just want it right in front of the place they're going. But, is this possible? Will it help to spur that economic development Tina's asking about? All things to be studying, working on together as a team, trying to figure out as we think about the best and highest use of this.
Well, for instance, an interim solution under the structure, someone can take a parking concession and run it. If you think that you can park cars for the day or do, an event, and then and make money at it, then someone will make that proposition to the DOT real estate people, and that's pretty low hanging fruit there. I think that they would go for that.
Yeah, they have parking under the in New Orleans underneath. They just converted a ton of their interstate to parking.
That's pretty easy. I think that's kind of the first thing that people might think of, because it's covered and it's there, and it doesn't take much to just make it a parking usable for a parking space. So if the market demand says so, okay, let's think about that.
Or even I can see if we're making, if there's a pedestrian something, a connector that kind of connects people across the connector across the connector and along the connector. I can even see in addition to parking here, maybe even the scooters or the, there's a acronym SDM, whatever the acronym is for the scooters and the bikes, the electric mobile devices.
Yeah. Electric bikes and electric scooters.
Yeah, having kind of a hub there, and if say to Anita's point that there's limited parking downtown, that parking underneath that interstate structure can become that downtown parking, and scooters, bikes, electric, whatever's could be used to help get people to destination points to downtown, Freetown, Macomb, Vise, and other neighborhoods.
So what you're saying, it would be satellite parking with a scooter option.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Actually, Tina, you actually brought something to mind in Denver. I believe, as a matter of fact, it's downtown Denver. They have that there in downtown Denver.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does, the people, when they ride the bikes, the scooters and stuff like that, it collects energy. And so when the bikes are put back, that energy that has been built up and stored in the bikes and the scooters, they use it to power different things, whether it's a light or some other type of structure or something like that that's along the downtown area. So that's a possibility too. Is there a way to connect
Yeah.
some type of solar technology for some type of a structure or activity or something that we may want to implement in this area. So
Let me say this, we have to scoot down to the next area because we have 2 areas to go.
Jeff, as we scoot down and while we're still talking about parking, the
Yes,
next part, that if we were to extend the green line into where we're coming into, that's a warehouse. That's a giant warehouse right there. And there's a
Right,
bunch of open, empty cement kind of in the subplot we were in prior right there. But
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is we got green space there and we already got a bunch of cement over there. Not that we need it. I don't know where parking would be best or what have you. And then adjacent, just on the other side of the railroad tracks, the city just now put in 50 free spots running along there.
No kidding.
And then I walk my dogs right now, right along this green area we're in between the railroad tracks and the warehouses. There is 50 yards. That's the dog park for our area. That's the one little green sliver of green space Freetown has. And then as you move across Taft right here, this is also Freetown. And I'm going to just use the same terms over and over again. Tale of two cities, tale of two Freetowns. One side of the tracks is just fine. The other side of the tracks, you know, it's just completed. And then moving right on over into Macomb Vise and to echo the points from the one before. How do those people get to this side and back over to this side? How do we come together? How, and then I add on to Tina's point a little while ago, you know, Louisiana, Johnson Street goes right through what we were just talking about and then runs parallel with the thruway. If someone could get on something to get on to not only downtown and all the fun things on that side of the tracks, but also all the way up Louisiana in some sense, that would be helpful. That would be beneficial. So instead of just impacting 6 blocks on either side, we actually are helping all the folks that live, again, as we feel, as a lot of people in this town feel, on 2 sides of the tracks, on 2 sides of a thruway.
Sure thing. Well, I think Johnson and Louisiana is, again, like I was saying, up at wherever I was saying it before, 6th Street, that where that if that's a way to get into the north-south aspect of this overhead as an entrance point, that's where both sides of both neighborhoods could get into the whatever's available underneath the structure, using that as the doorway, as the access point, the doorway into the area underneath the structure. Using you could do it at at Pinhook. You could do it at Johnson Street. You could do it at Pinhook. Maybe not Pinhook so much, but I think definitely Johnson Street and 14th and Taft. High possibilities there.
Mm-hmm.
Of coming along through there, collecting folks in the neighborhoods, and then you get to the interstate, and then you go your way up north or down south to the facilities that are underneath it.
So is there an off-ramp right here where you put this yellow arrow? Is there, or again, is it just a continuation of a complete high rise?
That's Taft Street.
Of Taft.
There's going to be some kind of a ramp there coming down to grade at some point. And I think that they're still working out exactly how that works. That's why we haven't shown it, because we don't totally know yet.
See, because that's a little concerning, because now that's going to be everybody's access into downtown, and then also it's just going to become a treacherous area again.
I don't know that. I don't know that.
Because where's that? If that's the first place you can get off from, how far up on Evangeline? I mean, we're 30 blocks, or what it feels like. I mean, it's a stretch now between.
Hey, they're saying Willow, so you won't be able to get off between Willow and Pinhook.
Right.
That's an on-ramp.
Well, Willow and Taft, or no.
Lou, hey Lou, can you help me out here, Lou?
Yeah, from Pinhook, it's an entrance ramp up onto the structure to go north. And then
Not
there's another ramp that comes south and exits and, joins the frontage road around Pinhook. So there's no ramp. I mean, the Taft crossing would go under those ramps.
Right.
They wouldn't have any influence on Taft at all.
Right, right.
To get
So-
off, if you're going to downtown from the south, you're going to get off south of Pinhook.
Right.
I don't know where exactly. I just know it's south of Pinhook.
And then Lou, you get onto the Couplet or Boulevard and you get up to either Johnson or Louisiana or Jefferson.
Right. I mean, you get off and you'll run along along the edge. The thruway will be along the edge of the structure until it gets to either the Couplet or the Boulevard, which is either all along the southbound or it's the southbound and northbound like it is now. And that's the way the thruway will go. And you have to remember the thruway also is going to have substantially less traffic than it has today.
By a lot. By a lot.
Unless we do an awesome job of developing down there, and then people have a reason to be there now.
But it'll be local traffic. It won't be 18-wheelers trying to get to Opelousas or something.
The whole complexion of the traffic types is completely different at that point.
Yeah.
Well, just a quick question. How this section of the corridor is there's a lot of businesses, commercial activity along that, especially as you get near Pinhook. When you elevate, that's going to change those businesses. I mean, if you have a gas station, I know on the corner of Pinhook and Evangeline, there are like 3 gas stations on three of those corners, right?
Well,
and then I think there's a school on the other corner.
There's a school, there's Pack and Paddle, one building in, there's motels, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. So when you elevate the road, that's going to change the commercial structures. I mean, if those gas stations are really just going to be catering to those coming through Pinhook, because Evangeline probably won't have that much, the same kind of traffic is what I'm getting at. So maybe that commercial activity will change somewhat.
It's very likely that those gas stations will both be taken for the Pinhook.
Yeah.
So that just means it's a new redevelopment opportunity.
Well, I guess that's my point is, what do we consider in the redevelopment of those commercial corridor, in this commercial corridor, because they're going to be different. I think there'll be, maybe different types of businesses that might be interested in that. I don't know, just a thought.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think because of it being access to the elevated structure at Pinhook and it's still being part of the local street grid, I think it's going to actually have a fair amount of attractiveness for, new commercial uses.
So am I right in thinking that the downtown, like the exit going to downtown would effectively be Willow Street?
From the north.
If you come from the north, it might be. We don't know yet. I mean, the traffic people are still studying all of these things.
Yeah. It just seems like we couldn't make it harder to get to downtown, which is a major event center for travel and a destination.
Well, what it does do though, if you're coming in, if you exit at Willow, that means that the structure itself through the commercial core area is slim.
It's clean, yeah.
And you don't have a lot of ramps there. I'm getting a prompt here that we need to go one more south here down to Khalees Saloon. I'm getting yelled at by the big cheese Brie. Brie, I love Brie cheese. Let's go down to Khalees Saloon for just a minute, and then so we can wrap this up. I apologize. If by the way, if you got more things in the last area, let me know, and we'll certainly do them for you. Sir?
Can I just ask for a note related to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Come back to it, because
Okay.
I'm kind of concerned about that pattern, and I don't know where that really comes up in the course of these meetings, but pathways to major, events, especially downtown. And so I know there's a traffic team, but I would like that note to get to the traffic team.
Sure
Well,
thing.
unfortunately, we're not the traffic team, but
No,
Well,
I'm making notes so we can tell them.
we
Well,
will
so-
tell them.
So finally here, Khalees Saloom, south end of the project, it's been at grade for a while as it goes over the river and by Beaver Park. And then the interchange with Khalees Saloom and the elevated is really in one flight up in the air intersection. So if you're coming southbound, you would go up the ramp and then over the railroad and then back down to Khalees Saloom. If you're coming north on the thruway, you get up on the ramp and go over the railroad to Khalees Saloom. And if you're coming on Khalees Saloom, you want to go northbound, you see what's going to happen is there are going to be those two ramps crossing one flight up where those arrows are. And it's an interchange, it's an intersection, but it's an elevated intersection. So that means that the main line, if you're coming in on the main line, you're at grade and you're just going to be scooting through at grade. So how you get from Khalees Saloom to the thruway now will not exist anymore. You'll have to get on or off northbound, southbound using these ramps. That means that Hugh Wallace there by the hotel there and that triangle area are about the only areas that have any potential use. So much the same as Willow, only smaller, we have some potential ideas, programming possibilities that could happen in this area too, that we should talk about for a couple of minutes here.
And Jeff, they should know it's potentially larger than that, not substantially larger, but they're talking about moving the road that goes parallel to the road onto the other side
Yeah.
of Khalees Saloom. So,
Okay.
you have the underside plus the triangle.
Well, the thing you'll
Together.
also have too is Hugh Wallace going straight underneath without
Right.
crossing the at-grade Khalees Saloom anymore.
Yeah.
Hugh Wallace is just going to go on. So if you're, coming in on a bike or something, that's something that would work along there. But we have that one area there to think about, the green triangle.
Quick question. I know
Yeah.
Hugh Wallace Road, it swings over and hits, you got that cross area in the top part of the triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that still necessary? Could that be abandoned and it opens up that whole area to the north, I guess, east of Hugh Wallace? Am I making sense? I don't.
Well, let me see. If you're coming down Hugh Wallace and you take the hypotenuse there, the triangle, you
Right.
come around to what will be an intersection at grade, which would either allow you to turn left to go up onto the structure and go north or southbound, or turn right and go down Khalees Saloom. If you are coming on Khalees Saloom, you could turn into, I think.
No, those are two-way streets.
Yeah.
The diagonal is now a two-way street that goes around.
Right.
And a two-way street loops back.
Right. That's so you take Khalees Saloom to that little handle there on the south side of it, and you go under the structure to go northbound on Hugh Wallace.
But what I was saying is that the engineers are talking about potentially relocating the road on the south side of the triangle to the other side of the structure, which
Okay.
would then make the underside of the structure and the triangle one big larger space.
Gotcha.
It could be
Okay.
used for whatever
That
you
was
wanna
my
use it for.
point. That was my point. Is that the top part of the triangle, is that road necessary? Because right now you just if you're on Hugh Wallace going south and you veer off to the right on that top part of the triangle, it connects to College Saloon. But if you go down Hugh Wallace, you can hit College Saloon and turn right.
Yeah, but you won't be able to do that until you get to where the curves are further out. Because you got to get, you got to get down on grade.
Yeah.
And then,
Can I ask everyone to, we got 2 minutes left as Bree tells me. If there's any ideas to do with the area in the green, I'll write them down now. So we're going to get kicked out of here. And believe me, I've been kicked out of better places than this.
Native trees.
Native trees.
And azaleas.
Amen.
Native landscaping.
I don't know, just an idea.
No, it's a good idea.
I feel
Really
like
good.
Hugh Wallace is going to be used a lot now because people aren't going to want to do that whole throughway deal just to get right up the way. Maybe that'll be a good thing. That road's busted up. It needs to be fixed. Are you guys paying for that? Are we paying for that? Things like that we didn't get to discuss. And just last thing, moving up the way right there. You've got the Bayou Vermilion. We've never accented the Vermilion like we should for this town.
Right.
That could be the entrance point, a different type of entrance point. And going back to entrance points in downtown before y'all leave, it is a point of concern. How do we get to downtown with where these ramps are? Do we know where the ramps actually are going to be? When do we get that
we'll
determined?
tell you when we find out.
That's the subject of the next set of workshops, I believe.
Guys, I'm struggling with this section because it's so weird, but
Yes.
I'm just
Too.
thinking about like the types of businesses in the adjacent area. Maybe this is a place for like metal sculpture type things. It's the only thing I can think of.
We did talk about it being the Southern Gateway, so that would work in with that. You know, that's kind of a way, welcome to Lafayette, coming up from the south.
Entrepreneurial wildcatter mentality, kind of, I don't know. Give Greg a nod,
Yeah.
Brett.
Yeah.
Y'all should ask
Greg,
the district people because their office is right there.
It is right there.
They might have some interesting input on, I mean.
Well, we're going to get booted in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.